Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Crow's Nest podcast, or also known as the Cacawphony. I'm Jelo, and with me today I got Battle,
Hello.
Greatness,
Hi.
and Ted.
Everyone.
Alright, so this week we're gonna talk about Weiss. One of the things that we thought would be interesting is to do a little bit of a before and after our opinions of Weiss, because Volume 7 we expect her to have a good bit of development, so we kind of want to see what people's opinions are before and after. So, getting right into that, let's go with what do you guys think of her overall? Any general opinions?
She's pretty cool in my book. Like top 5 best female characters in the show.
Right, she's usually up there.
Design isn't my favorite. I'm just, the sort of prim and proper all white design doesn't really appeal to me, but I do like her character and the way that she's grown.
Hey, Belle?
No, I don't know. I didn't know if we were taking turns yet.
Kind of. We're just going along with it.
Got it. I don't think I've remember. I don't think I ever remembered speaking much about the show from my own thoughts. So I am okay. So she's pretty. She's pretty good with what she does now. From much before, right? Much before, like I didn't know who she was, considering I never saw the trailers first before the show began. So it means like I'm surprised she was a main character who would probably, how she first acted. Now familiar face in the cast. So it's pretty nice.
Alright, so what you're saying is you're a little surprised that she was a main character because you hadn't quite seen the color volumes first?
No, I had not seen the color trailers first.
Alrighty.
Found the show randomly of all things.
It's kind of interesting.
Actually didn't see the trailers either until like volume 3 or something.
Alright, well that is a bit of an interesting perspective. I myself, I like Weiss. I mean, who doesn't? I don't like her as much as what seems to be the majority does. I do have a few problems with her and what people think of her development, but I think we'll get into that a little bit later here.
Also not my favorite to watch fight compared to the other girls, which is funny because I am a fencer.
Alright, yeah, with that, how about we get into the kind of favorite and least favorite moments? So, I mean, Ted, would that be like one of your least favorite moments, just the Weiss fights?
Oh no, I think overall my least favorite moments is probably towards the beginning when she's being kind of, snooty and mean and arrogant. Not just in volume 1.
That's fair.
My favorite moment with her is probably in volume 5 when she, steps up and fights the Lancers and the Queen Lancer. That I thought was one of her more interesting fights, the way it worked out. And just any time that she kind of steps up as a huntress is my favorite moments with her.
Yeah, I really like that fight as well. I think it's one of the more unique ones that they put out. But as for that snootiness in the beginning, I kind of like it because that is very much part of her character and her flaws.
Sure, yeah. I just, it's definitely a major part of her character. It makes her unlikable.
Right. But I feel that you need to have that kind of low moment, that unlikability, to make that development really worth it, right? All right. Do we have more favorite moments from her?
Like I said, just any
For
of the
me, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Ted.
Just like I said, any of the times that she kind of steps up as a huntress and is, there are times when she's sort of the first one to say, we need to do something about this. We need to fight these Grimm to beat these bad guys. And that that she's very committed to this role that she, on some level came into kind of as a side thing. Like her main objective early on was to run the company. So what does being a huntress have to do with that? But it shows that she's really committed to it.
Yeah, I think I gotta agree. For instance, when Weiss saves Velvet against the Paladin, the first time she does a partway summon, that was one of the ones that I really liked.
Great.
Yeah, she went in. I don't even think really expecting to come out on top, but she knew she had to do something there.
It was just instinct, I think, to rush in and help.
Yeah, I think that really lends herself to how her character evolved. You have one greatness?
Well, I have to say my least favorite moment of hers is probably towards the end of Volume 1, when she's being argumentative and nasty towards Blake.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because Blake's my favorite character or anything, but because it just kind of shows the depths of just how unlikable she really is at the start. It's not pleasant.
To say the least.
Do you think that she was justified in her, suspicion of the White Fang?
Oh, yeah, the White Fang, sure, but I mean, that's how she. I guess it's how she's kind of. I really don't know how to phrase this.
It's how she grew up seeing the world. Is that it?
Yeah, that's how she views like everything in general,
right? Because
as it were.
That was the only thing that she was able to see.
Right.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'd say that was
and
at least the beginning of that. I enjoyed that.
And my favorite moment from her is probably actually Volume 6, when she sets fire to the cabin. No, that's not a cabin. It's the house. It's the thing with the apathy in it. You know what I mean? There we go. And she just lights all the alcohol on fire to set the Grim on fire. Considering like her mom's alcoholism and everything, it's kind of just a nice character moment in addition to just a cool way to escape. And I just always liked the way that panned out.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that I feel a lot of people kind of overlook because it's such a small thing in that whole series of events. But I do agree that does some good credit to her.
I'm pretty sure it was very cathartic. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Belle, you have anything?
Oh, right. I don't think I ever had remember any least favorite moments other than me raging against Torchwick or the bad guys or stuff in general. I mean, I'm trying to think about anything Weiss first, just because the favorite parts are probably the only thing I can see sometimes.
All right.
I mean, she's It's stuck with a lot. No way, I think that some parts of that thing. Oh yeah, I think kind of get confused about how it was about the whole. I think I did get confused about the part about her sort of just pushing Flint down into the fire rising thingy, and Flint went out okay. I don't. I think maybe that was like a confusing moment for me, and I'm still confused at that point. So I don't know.
What now?
Yeah, I mean,
Volume 3 when she just pushes herself and Flint on
oh
top
right,
of a fire. Volume 3 C5.
okay,
I
okay.
don't know. That was confusing to me. Not like I didn't say it was bad. It just confused me. Though I have not gone to rewatch that part.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you mean. Right when when Weiss pushes Flint into the geyser with herself. Um, I believe what happened at that time was that Weiss knew she didn't have much else to give into that fight. So what she did is she took Flint with her into the geyser, so that way he was as his aura was low as possible, and Yang could pull out the win there. So that was I like that one. It was a self-sacrificing moment for the good of the team.
Apologies then. If it seemed like they didn't like it.
Oh, no, no need to apologize for that. I think that little bit about self-sacrificing for the team, I think that is a good segue to talk about the relationship with the rest of her team. So, yeah, how about a little bit on that? Honestly, going over this topic, I can't help but feel it's, I don't know, because of Weiss being a little, I don't know, in the background for the last couple of volumes. I feel that the relationship with the rest of her team is like not as defined as the rest of them.
I'm not sure about that. I think that Volume 5 especially kind of showed how well she's come to understand her team. Whether she was helping Yang, but at the same time that she was talking to Yang, she was showing an understanding of Blake and why she might have left.
Right, I definitely feel that she's like gone along with them, but I feel like it's a little nebulous because you have Ruby and Yang are sisters. You have Yang and Blake, which love interest. Let's leave that there. And you have all these like very defined things, but Weiss, it's like she's very, very much. I don't know.
You consider it a Zoidberg like
A what?
like Friends and Zoidberg, that kind
I don't know about that. I don't think that her just being friends with all of the others is weak or a bad thing.
Not at all. Personally, I think how she is with them is defined. It's just not pushed to the forefront very often, for one reason or another.
Okay, I think that might be a good way to look at it. I definitely. Would you say that she's kind of become the heart of the team in that way? How she's, she has that relationship of a good friend, always there for them, that kind of deal.
Level. I think Ruby is for the most part still the heart of the team, but yeah, Weiss sort of takes up that role.
Yeah, I'd say that she's the heart away from the heart. She's kind of the support.
The lung?
Yang or Ruby, yes, she's the lung. She breathes for everyone else so that they don't have to. Of course, lately it got punctured, so it's less effective.
I don't. Why?
Puns. Wordplay.
It's funny. Weiss is kind of support, and the others, especially right now with them going back towards her family, the others are going to need to support her too. But she has been acting as a support for them, which is funny because that's also kind of her combat role.
I think that might
she's the mage, she's the wizard. She hangs in the back and does things to support the team without just charging in and smacking everything. Right.
Semblance is easily the most versatile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can do like
everything.
Summoning.
Everything, yes. Do like minor elemental control, it can do time dilation, it can do stuff. It can do stuff.
Stopping crashes is apparently a big facet of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's used plenty of gravity.
Attempt to stop a crashing before it went.
In both Volume 5 and 6, they probably would have all gotten smeared on the pavement if it hadn't been for her.
As well as the breach. So, Weiss is the safety belt?
Yes, she's the lungs and the safety belt. She's the training wheels. She keeps everyone else from tipping over.
There's a lot of analogies for Weiss, apparently.
There are a lot of amazing analogies.
It's especially funny that she's come into this support role, considering how much she, what's the word? Early on, she was kind of the lancer of the group. She made things difficult for everyone else. And now she's sort of one who helps bring them together and support them.
And I think that's a nice sort of contrast with her role now. Like the one who is very argumentative behind the scenes is the one who arguably gives the most versatile and most synergist. That's not a word. The most the most compatibility between abilities and such on the field. So it's like they had to get past her social block to get to how effective she really is as a member of a team.
All right. Do you think that was intentional?
Yeah, I would say so. Like the really hard-hearted, snooty person being the glue that helps everyone else work together really well. I feel like that was intentional, if only because even if it isn't, it's still really cool to have in anyway. So I'd like to assume they did that on purpose.
She did grow into that. Writing. And she did grow into that role. It's not something she started out in.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I'd say that was pretty good.
Think to add battle?
Yeah, I believe. I mean, I didn't consider roles of teams in the matter. Which topic are we on again?
Her relationship with the rest of her team.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I pretty much adapt first with everyone. Given the leaders as a young girl who got a lot and probably so far, at least despite her quirks, they managed quite well with the group. And the crazy activities. Like a watermelon, taking a watermelon to the god time. I don't. Wait, no, I just said no. I don't. No, no, wait, the enemy was the one hit by watermelon. I don't know if that watermelon broke or anything. I could probably get iMovie up to look. No. She forces herself to get out of the Schnee manor and Atlas in general just to be out there, like she was going for back for her team, right? That seems like
Okay.
so long ago. With agreement that she would expected he knew her beforehand. Now flying with her team, which is a better family than the current one she has right now.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Well, is it? Well, even they're not. At least they're together. She knows how, and she knows that I don't. How often do we speak about this topic? Because it may be different. Because
However you want.
clearly,
Yeah, no problem.
I think so. I think it's this one.
If you're done, we can move on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When you
No reason to overtalk.
Yeah,
What I do.
basically it's good with a go for team now. That they're family away from family, or the better family from the half bad family.
all right.
That thing. Okay.
I'd say that's a pretty good summary of what the rest of her team is to her. So I suppose let's keep on rolling down our script. And
Yes, it all goes downhill from here.
so, excuse me. Weiss, crap. Excuse me.
What's next?
She seemed to go through her issues of being the Schnee heiress and that kind of person really quickly through Volume 1.
I don't know about that. You're talking about her
Yeah.
accepting Ruby as the team leader.
I'm talking about both about that as well as the all the stuff with Blake.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I do. That's kind of two different subjects, I feel. So let's start with the badge and the burden.
I think, personally, I think the reason why it was easy for her to get past that sort of thought process is because it's like it's this time where she didn't earn something and she was told no when she tried to get it again. Like, she's both abused and pampered, and at home, and at Beacon she is actually neither of these. She's like a perfect neutrality of just a normal teenage girl, basically. So that's the first time she really hasn't gotten her position, but then was also not necessarily chastised for wanting it. She was sat down and she was told why not and what she should do afterwards. And I feel like that's part of why it was very easy for her to move on from that sort of thought process, that sort of desire for leadership, because it was, it was just something. There was a bit of communication she really needed at that moment.
And I mean, her need to be in charge and the best, is that necessarily something she wanted or something her father wanted for her?
That's a very good point.
Well, I think part of it was that Weiss and her mindset at that time was to strive to be for the best, or what she perceived as the best. So to her, that's obviously the leader, because leader's the important one. They make all the decisions, etc., etc., etc. But what I think that Port did a really well job of doing is taking that strive for perfection, saying, "Hey, by trying to do this, you're actually being the opposite perfect and being something of a shit. And instead, to be perfect, what you can do is this instead, which is to be a better teammate." And she does specifically say, "I'm going to be the best teammate ever." So I think that was a very good redirection of that goal.
I think Court was a very effective mentor there. Mostly he's treated as a comedic character, but he did a good job stepping up and being a teacher there.
Oh yeah.
He's awful at telling stories, but he's good at telling teenagers what they want to hear.
They need to hear.
Yeah.
That too, yes.
Yeah, what Weiss wanted to hear there was a lot different.
Yeah, I misspoke and then agreed with the misspeaking while agreeing with the correction. I do that.
All right.
It's been a weird morning.
So seems that we're more or less like the badge and the burden. Is there anything more on that one? All right.
Kind of.
I don't have much else to add on it.
All right. Okay. In that case, how about we move on to the next one, which is black and white. I believe that there was a
And
very good. Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Goes.
I think that was included in the two. Whatever.
Right. Well, you know what I mean. I believe it was a very good setup for the both of them, but only Blake's side was developed afterwards. Weiss had time to think about it, and and apparently she's over those issues.
So, I mean, people sometimes in the fandom, people portray it as, oh, Weiss stopped being racist, which is not really an accurate portrayal of what happened. Because I don't know, you could say that she was racist for associating the Faunus with the White Fang the way that she did.
Right.
But, I mean, she did kind of get over that, but when we look at her actual perception of the White Fang, that didn't really change. It was just that she accepted that Blake wasn't a part of it anymore.
But from then on, she didn't really seem to have any issues with the Faunus, though.
Right. She didn't, she wasn't constantly lashing out at the White Fang or anything. I think Blake demonstrated to her that get out of it. And essentially what I think is that everybody involved kind of arrived at the conclusion, yes, White Fang is bad. And that sort of ended things for Weiss, because she sees, oh yeah, everyone agrees with me that the White Fang is bad, but I don't know that that was the best conclusion to reach. I mean, think about what their starting point from here is. Blake feels that the White Fang was necessary because of the racism against Faunus, and Weiss just sees them as the people who were attacking her company and making life difficult for her family. They even go as far as to say White Fang members were going as far as to say that members of her family had been kidnapped or killed by the White Fang.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So.
They
sorry.
Well, that's gonna be a thing. So I think I can kind of see that. Yeah, White Thing is bad and all that. I'm still not happy with how Weiss just had time to think about it. I would have very much liked this scene in there with Weiss and Yang kind of, I don't know, at least talking there.
Okay, I can see that.
And I do understand Volume 1 is very much Volume 1 with a budget of $7, but I feel it's
$7 in a can opener.
$7 a can
of course,
opener, and Monty's
made that way.
And a bag of gummy worms.
Monty
that was the whole budget.
Monty was largely supporting the show with his
unhealthy work habits.
Yeah, well, I had a metaphor, but then I decided it was too dirty for this.
Oh,
no metaphor is too dirty to exist.
Yeah, there is. We're gonna. Anyways, so that's kind of my
Oh,
thoughts.
did you have something, Dad?
One school and past these penny bids. So I know, yeah. I mean, I don't really know what much they spoke about, given that they didn't really have they had a little time with what to do on these. At least, like some point, maybe you might have given that off screen, or maybe on screen with that Yang moment. Weiss may have had some time to at least think about this and think about Blake's response. Really big team. Like with Blake didn't seem to be fighting much in maybe that cheap perspective the White Fang might have fought. If I don't like see Queen clearly she hasn't clearly at least Boy had some reason to just abandon them on the spot, and a white fan of dreams can cause to do what they're doing.
Right, that they were doing a lot at once. They had, at the same time that this is going on with Weiss and Blake, they were introducing Penny and Sun.
That's true.
Penny was second best girl of Beacon Art at me.
Who's best?
But that's a whole different podcast.
Yeah, it probably is. We probably could entire thing about that. But that's getting a little off topic.
Yeah.
So, how about we talk about Weiss and her fighting abilities? This is something that has been memed a lot, and how she has such a diverse kit, but at the same time, she doesn't seem to win any fights. What do you folks think about that?
Personally, I think she can be a really good and graceful fighter, but she does what I do whenever I get like a new unlock in a game. She tries out the new toy as much as possible, which is like her summons, and ignores all the other options until she runs its course.
She did that once, and I think I've actually heard people say, like, oh, look, in the fight with Vernal, she overused her summons and was punished for her, and then in later fights she didn't overuse it. But that couldn't possibly have been intentional, because Rooster Teeth isn't that smart. That's a thing I've actually heard people say. And I think that's ridiculous.
Those people aren't very smart.
I mean,
yeah.
How would she have known that the Vernal's laser guns would cut through that ice so easily, and alongside the night summoning too?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I thought they were just tasers.
Tasers?
There's
something
like tasers, like a little were they like electric barbs? It's been a while since I watched it. I'm misremembering. I do that a lot.
Well, Vernal had lasers.
But I swear Vernal.
Let's just call them lasers. That's more or less.
Yeah. Sure, lasers. Let's go with that.
Oh my god,
my personal thoughts on this, especially with losing the solo fights, is if you actually go and look through the series and what all the main girls have won and lost, Weiss really isn't all that far behind. So
that's true.
So just looking at Weiss's track record, you have her losing against Banesaw, Flint, which she had enabled Yang to win there, and let's see, and Bernal. The rest has all been team fights.
You could argue that she essentially lost against Flint one-on-one.
Well, yeah. And then there's also, but then let's look at Yang, who is a lot of times people consider the best fighter. She's let's see. What has she won one-on-one? She's done the Jelo trailer, which everyone won those. Then
Mercury.
She beat Mercury, which some people say he threw the fight.
I have to agree in saying that he threw it, because that's what they wanted that to be, so I can't really have that one way or the other.
I mean, but when you
And-
look at the rest of his combat performance, like the fight against Yang wasn't like much lower.
Right. Well, still going
Yeah,
on.
I have to agree that he threw it because he seems a lot. That does seem to be the plan. Like if he won and then Emerald did the illusion, then it could be seen as a attack of frustration, which would still get them disqualified most likely, but would probably be more understandable and there'd be less miserability about it.
Yeah, you're right.
And going on from that, she also loses against Neo, and she doesn't exactly win at the Battle of Haven. So it's not really all that too much different between all the four girls. And we can also go and look into Ruby and Blake, but that kind of is a chunk of time. So I think what they're trying to get across here in how the girls will a lot of times lose these fights where they're on their own is that they're trying to drive home the strength and unity that theme in Ruby.
Weiss clearly has a very important support role to the team, like we talked about before. She is one of the ones who can best enhance her teammates.
Alright, yeah. I think that a lot of this Weiss never wins a fight is because compared to, let's say, Yang again, when she does loses, it's in a much more spectacular fashion, and then nothing kind of comes from it. You know,
That's what I was just about to say. Like, yeah, you're right. She doesn't lose like that much, but when Yang loses, she gets knocked out. When Weiss loses, she gets pummeled and then turned into a coat rack by Cinder. It's the sort of thing where it's like, you notice the loss more because it has more consequences, it looks a lot more brutal, it's in your face a lot more, and it's just that's the reason she gets memed on a lot because yeah.
You think that any of
It's
Team
sort of-
Ruby could have beaten Vernal though? I mean, she was
I
kind of.
mean, if you
probably not.
It's hard to
avoid the
say.
lasers and maybe even go in close quarters to stagger her and throw a few hits in there. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, but it wasn't.
it's too hard to tell because our only real gauge is Weiss. So
Yeah.
it's pretty difficult, that one.
oh, she could also throw her weapons like some boomerang.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Vernal was kind of styling on Weiss.
Yeah, for now,
It was like
for such a
it was like
side
sorry.
character. All right, yeah, for such a side character, Vernal was pretty strong.
Raven values strength, so at least two members of her tribe had to be halfway decent.
Right.
True that. Which makes you wonder if Shay was like somewhat like a child of a strong member or something. Because otherwise, there's no explanation for him.
Maybe.
Well, it's
but
not
that's-
like his posse did any better.
No. Anyways, that's we're getting off topic there. I think we've kind of exhausted
Yeah.
Weiss and her fighting ability. So,
Yeah.
um,
She can be good, but she gets memed on.
all right. So,
You
Yeah.
will someday, maybe. I just mostly on the Sunday thing.
right. So, going from fighting back to development. You had Volume 1, and then honestly, Weiss kinda development-wise laid low for 2 and 3, with the exception of Winter. But let's get into Volume 4. That's where she was able to be focused on a good bit.
The keeping up with the Schnee's arcs.
I thought it was like there could have been more time, there could have been a bit more development on it, but I thought it was all right.
Yeah.
It painted a good picture of her home life, and it did show why she was so eager to leave, and it's just a moment of triumph when she does, and I love it.
I think it was one of the better arcs out of the Volume 4 era because it did what it was intended to do. It was very much this is what Weiss's life is like. This is why she doesn't want it. This is what she'll do to get away from it.
I think it's
Precisely.
more than just, people focus a lot on her father, which is, of course, a major part of that arc, but also her relationship with Atlas. You see at the party that she's very much out of place now. Being a huntress and going to Beacon and fighting at Beacon really changed her to the point that she isn't just this Atlassian anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was she definitely showed how out of place she was there. And that also helped a lot with how she didn't like it there, because really the only one thing that she had was Klein.
Though I do think it's funny, at the end of volume 3, we're like, oh, it's awful that her father took her back to Atlas. And yeah, by that point, we kind of understood that her dad was terrible. But if we didn't have that understanding that her dad was terrible, of course he took her back to Atlas. What else would happen?
Couldn't say.
Weird stuff. I mean, keyboard thing.
All right. Well, I think that's also a good part to get into what you think of the rest of the Schnee family. So let's just start with Winter. Sure.
I think out of Winter, when we've gotten very little screen time from her, she's only been like in 2 episodes and a trailer.
But at the same time, she has a lot of personality to her, I feel, and you can glean a lot
Yeah,
of
that
from
little
that.
little screen time does do a lot to show the kind of person she is. She's stern, she's level-headed, she's focused, she's stubborn, but she does clearly love her sister, or at least respect her more than the rest of her family does.
More than the rest of them, though. Remember, her first appearance, she was criticizing Weiss and Ruby pretty viciously.
I think that's
that's more tough love.
Take volume
maybe not a kind of tough love that is easy to support, but definitely a kind of tough love that she seems to think at least works.
Volume 6 Weiss and spit her back into Volume 3 in that scene. I would have liked to see her stick up for maybe herself and definitely Ruby in that scene, instead of just kind of being like, yeah, Winter, you're right, I do suck, and so does Ruby.
Oh, yeah, sounds like me.
Oh my.
All right.
Hey, they're together. Why not? They're together still. That's one thing. What do you? Winter's probably doing something rather. Oh, I just back at Atlas isn't because of dust porter stuff. Like at some point, she's gotta be surprised that Weiss has been rather acting a bit off, or we may have heard from Jock that Weiss kind of made the party a lot less thing. I don't.
That's gotta be funny. Winter's reaction to Weiss leaving and everything.
Oh, yeah, that.
I feel like she would have supported it, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Well, Winter probably got a laugh out of it, because you have to imagine that Winter was, you'd think, the first Schnee heiress, and she decided to leave that as well.
You've got to wonder at what point Jacques, disinherited her and made Weiss the new heiress, because Winter isn't that much older than Weiss.
I'd assume when she joined the military, and it might have been.
Yeah.
It might have been actually
Like,
Winter that said, "No, I'm not having any of your crap."
So Weiss couldn't have been,
the
younger than.
military does tend to make you respect authority that needs to be respected.
Mhm.
And nobody respects Jacques as far as they can throw him.
Minus Whitney, maybe, or
Whitley.
I don't know.
Yeah, Whitley's
Maybe.
funny. People, shit on Whitley so much.
I don't like those people.
Yeah, because
I
Whitley did nothing wrong. Actually, scratch that. Whitley did nothing.
I'm not going to go that far, but I'm going to say that Whitley is very understandable. A good way that I feel of describing him is as a quote unquote failed Weiss. A Weiss that hadn't been able to get out of the house and have this support structure.
You have to wonder.
As the older brother of four, I feel like Whitley is understandable as a kind of heavily influenced kid. That doesn't make him not a smug brat, though. It's
Okay.
literally him. Big
Think-
smug brat.
Two things that I want to make clear about Whitley are, one, he didn't really do anything to screw Weiss over in Volume 4. I kind of blame Winter for the way that he is, because, maybe that's not fair because she was a child herself at the time, but it sounds like she was a real support for Weiss, and Whitley just didn't have that.
I think there's a lot here that we don't quite know.
Right.
So a lot of this
Yeah,
is
what we have so far is just a really smug attitude and a kid with a lot of questions.
Mhm. So, yeah. My personal hope with Whitley is that he's a bit more than Jacques Light, and we'll get to see maybe a bit more of just how all that went down in the past between the Schneeblings.
But unless he was just born a bastard,
The Schneeblings is my favorite sitcom.
unless he was just born a bastard, I think that all of the people who helped Weiss become a better person, bear some responsibility in Whitley not becoming a better person.
That could be that could be an interesting storyline to explore. You could definitely, that is something that I've thought about. How Whitley goes on maybe something of a rant of, "I had no one. You had Winter, you had Klein, you maybe even had Ironwood. I had father."
Mm-hmm.
And his money, but
Yeah.
that's not good.
Okay. So before we get to the big bad dad, how about a little bit on Klein?
Klein is amazing.
Klein's really, stepped up as I think a father figure to Weiss to help, fill in the role that Jacques doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Honestly, Klein is basically just a good dad in general, let alone a better father than Jacques.
Which makes you wonder, did he not do the same for Whitley? Whitley kind of rejected.
I feel like maybe Klein tried, but some of Jacques' attitude was already beginning to run off on the kid, and Klein didn't really see a need to. But at the same time, we don't know how Klein responds to Whitley. I don't think the two of them have ever shared a scene, so.
The Schnee manner, and that was going away. At least he understood what Weiss wanted.
Right.
More than
he was willing to help her get out, which, for all we know, he could have been fired for, or worse.
Maybe we'll find out.
Or worse. What, was he catapulted out of the tallest tower in this building?
No, they could have imprisoned him or something.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Why would the Schnee have a dungeon. That's the basic setup for how
know
a
about
man.
that. I mean, they could have accused him of kidnapping and turned him over to the police.
And something to
Oh,
really
my
think about there is, I think they have to know that he helped, because I can't imagine the Schnee Manor not having cameras.
Yeah, I don't know.
Either that or Klein was probably the possible reason why the doors were locked when Jock and Ironwood couldn't get out. That's what
No, Weiss did that with her semblance.
I don't think they knew. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that would be what they assume, that that Klein
Right.
locked the door from the outside or something. Yeah, you're right.
That's possible.
God, I forgot we haven't never saw them again ever since that.
It's possible, but at the same time, I feel like if you know the specific member of the family that ran away has an ability that could manipulate objects to a certain
Yeah,
degree,
that's true.
I feel like that's at least something you would also consider at the same time.
Well, here we go again with the cameras. You
You're right.
there's one trained on Jacques' door, and you can see that glyph. And Weiss herself.
Good question. Maybe we'll find out that they do have cameras.
Alright, so I think
Oh.
that's Klein isn't too present. How about Jacques? Let's get into this one.
Oh wait, we didn't get. Oh, I
Oh,
don't think
yeah.
so, Mother, because he wasn't around so much.
I do have one question about the mother. Do you guys think that she was ever a huntress? Do you think that she knows how to use her semblance?
It's kind of
That's a good question. I feel like Weiss needed to get training on it from somewhere, and it was her mother's line of the family. Jacques married into it, so it's an assumption to make, but again, there's really not much we have so far on it.
Right, so Weiss learned from Winter, but Winter was either self-taught, learned from the mother, or like maybe Nicholas was still alive and she learned from Nicholas.
well. I think Willow does have this semblance, because what you need to remember is that it's hereditary. However, we only have 3 generations of Schnees, so it's just, if Willow doesn't have it, it's a little bit of a stretch to see that whole kind of hereditary deal play out, right?
Right.
Right.
So that is a little thing that I'm a little sketchy on, with how it is hereditary, but there's only 3 generations.
I mean, I think Nicholas was probably the first warrior in the family, but not necessarily. There could have been ones before him who knew how to use it.
Okay, that does make
great grand.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
All right, wasn't this part supposed to be about Jacques?
Oh,
Okay, so on to Jacques.
Here we go.
Yeah, this dude. Oh my god. He is probably the worst father to ever father in the history of fathers, at least when it comes to Rooster Teeth Productions.
Oh no,
and series in general.
I mean, the director
decency.
is up there. The director is up there.
He is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he is up there. He is. If he's not at the top of the tower, he's washing the windows there.
Like
I think
Jacques.
that Jacques, part of the reason people hate him, even compared to like, Cinder, is because he's a so much more realistic evil.
Oh yeah, big time.
He's the type who wants expectation.
Like Mystical Fire Witch, that's pretty evil. But an abusive dad is something you can actually, meet. That's something that's actually out in the real world.
Right.
So it's like
I've definitely
it kind of plays on something we know, and it's more despicable because of it.
Right, I've definitely seen some people come out and share their experiences with an abusive parent there.
Not to mention, he owns a big company.
Right, that's
So
That's
he's a
another-
capitalist.
That is a little something that people can also relate to. If they're, if whoever they have to work for is not great.
Not even have to work for. I mean, all of us have to live with, the big companies mistreating people. Like
Yeah, we could
Jacques
definitely.
Schnee is like the Jeff Bezos of Remnant.
Right, we could go on about companies forever, I'm sure, but for the sake of the podcast, maybe not.
Yeah, let's say the big company conglomerates are on different step entirely.
Do we think that he is the one who made the Schnee Dust Company as awful as it is, or do you think that Nicholas bears some responsibility for that?
I think that perhaps Nicholas didn't put any. Yeah, there's a little bit of responsibility for, I suppose, letting this happen.
The mind trade stuff.
Mhm.
Like the mines. That's probably
Right, but with the mines were okay. I assume when Nicholas was running things, it's when Jacques showed up and really kind of.
That might be a safe assumption, or it might not. I mean, we don't know. He was able to create this powerful company even before Jacques took over. So we don't know how he treated his workers. Was he also racist against Faunus?
I don't think so,
It
because
was
there's
like-
a lot that points towards it's Jacques that was the problem, if I remember right, in the World of Remnant.
Exhibit A,
it-
because
and
he's Jacques.
Yeah.
in the time frame that at some point the White Fang was at least being born, or for one before they basically went on the renegade side of things.
Do we think that affected Jacques? Do you think it's possible that he was maybe a little bit better before the White Fang started, like, killing his employees and possibly family members?
Yeah, that is a possibility.
Yeah, it's possible, but I don't know. I don't think someone like Jacques could only result from that. I think there was always some sort of underlying aggression or need of control or whatever of his flaws you can point to and accentuate, exemplify, whatever the word is. Whatever flaw of his that you could exacerbate. There we go. From what the White Fang's been doing. I lost my train of thought. I don't think you can point to any of his flaws and go, "That's only a result of the White Fang," or "It's just because that's only added to because of the White Fang." I feel like there's always been a part of him that's been just rotten.
Now that I think about it, Weiss was 10 when Jacques told his wife that he didn't love her, and that should have been before the White Fang turned violent.
You're right. That was
Yeah.
with the White Fang changing. That was only 5 years ago. That is a very interesting thing.
12 then?
Weiss would have been 12 when the White Fang, when Sienna Khan took over.
Mm-hmm. So that was Sienna Khan only took over 2 years after. So yes, I do think that with that timeline setup, there was always something wrong with Jacques.
Something I think we may need a timeline from the.
I don't think that's ever happening.
Maybe we'll see in the book, but they have.
Oh yeah, the companion book.
Yeah, but I'm not holding out hope because they have said in the past that they're going to leave it open. That way, they aren't completely constrained by these timelines. It's a little bit more up in the air for us, but I don't think it's that big of an issue. So back with Jacques. Excuse me. with the whole he was always kind of bad. What do you guys kind of think about that? Because out of all of our villains, Jacques is pretty, I suppose, not. You don't know how he's. Eh, crap. I'm not doing well today. Excuse me, guys.
That's okay.
Right. But for Jacques,
alright.
you don't really know his kind of motivation. He's just there to be evil, mustache twirling businessman. What do
Oh,
you
I
guys?
think his motivation is a very realistic one, which is, money and prestige. I mean, people act like fictional villains need so much depth to them, but real people do all kinds of crazy shit just for money.
So there's kind
True
of
that.
something of a
Again,
depth.
It's
So you think
again,
there's
there's
some
another
sort
aspect. Okay, I'm sorry.
Right.
Just keep going.
So you think there's a kind of a depth and simplicity there?
Sure, or at least a realism in it.
There we go. Yes, I agree there.
All right. So do we have any more on Jacques?
He's a bad dad. That's all I need to say.
the public doesn't know much probably, and just that he owns the company and they think he's doing like president like services things like to support like for support of Beacon Academy after its fall. And
Right.
basically allowing people to say maybe if Beacon Academy is something they wouldn't be dead. Those
Yeah, that's also another thing. In the Royal Remnants, they had said that Jacques hired a very good PR company, and that way he is able to keep that sway on the general masses.
Well, you say the right words, you reach everybody.
Saw him doing the charity event, and they sort of indicated that he had done lots of those before to support Mantle.
Yeah, so that's another little thing to him.
We know how he partners with the Atlas military, and it sounds like they're fairly popular within their own border.
At least up in the clouds. Not sure about the sea down below. Probably something a little different down there.
Probably. Want to move on now?
Sure. That just leaves. What about the future? We had talked a little bit about this in a past podcast, but this time let's focus completely on Weiss.
This is like some sort of big moment for Weiss, isn't it? Heading over to Atlas a month after the left for 2 volumes.
Okay. Sorry, it cut out for a second. Disconnected. Sorry. Can you repeat what you were saying, please?
Of course. Just let's speculate a little bit on Weiss and her role in Volume 7/maybe 8.
Okay.
Clearly, she's going to be confronting her father and Whitley, and I think she's either going to have to, fight against them completely or find some way to understand them. Although at this point, we don't really know what Salem's plans are for Atlas.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like the obvious plan is just to drop the thing on the continent, but that's just me.
Doesn't necessarily get you closer to the relic.
Yeah, but it caused chaos.
Does
Probably a lot of negative feelings.
Does the Schnee family know of the relics? That's one thing maybe to think about, and that's another obstacle. Well, since Mantle or Atlas, the island above it probably may be the container for a relic to keep it in a way.
Possible.
Mantle probably might be the mining, since that's causing a lot of fumes to come out from the volume. in the ending of volume 6.
Alright, yeah.
What about Winter? How do you guys think that Winter and Weiss are going to interact coming up?
I think a lot of that depends on what Ironwood is doing, because Winter is so connected with him and what he's up to.
If Ironwood turns out to be some kind of, minor antagonist, Winter might also be sort of an antagonist.
I feel like it's not that cut and dry. I feel like there'd be a bit of conflict between, what would she actually choose? Like military or the sister they're directly going up against to do their antagonism?
Yeah, kind of have to.
It depends on what she thinks is right.
That could be an interesting plotline to explore.
Mhm.
So yeah, I definitely think that when we get to Atlas and all that, a lot of the early stuff will be trying to sell things out, see where everyone stands, and going from there. So that's all Ironwood, the SDC, Salem, any kind of Faunus, and our heroes. That's, I think, a lot of that is how things are going to start out.
There was certainly a lot of things that people are expecting on the volume 7.
There are.
Going to be the Schnee family. It's going to be very difficult of how to handle things. Since the company started finishing up, they finished up the scripts, so they have at least a plan of that sort. Well, along with the whole plan thing, so I'm not expecting to see it, even with the few things. And I want to see what Sped Weiss would win at some point. I mean, it's the family, and where they all is coming and sitting there and everything. You gotta wonder if they gotta wonder at least how this go where I look. There's basically just so much things to look at. I think I was
Sorry.
Again.
Yes or no, do you think that Weiss is going to reconcile with Whitley?
I think that a lot of that depends on kind of your opinion of Whitley. So like I said before, I'd find very much a Jacques Light to be disappointing. So for that myself, I do feel that he'll have something of a redemption.
I feel like Whitley doing a face turn, being a better person, that would be actually rather interesting. But I don't know that's where they're going. But at the same time, if it isn't, then I hope they pull off an antagonistic Whitley in a unique way.
Yeah.
Like not a smug little brat, but not a backstabbing, money grubbing, power hungry Game of Thrones psycho.
Alright, yeah. Whatever they do, of course we're hoping for the best. Best story, that is.
There'll be a lot of cover in episode. Who knows if one of the scenes could be a casualty. It's just a lot of to think about. Just in the topic of one single person. The family being a big part of the world, So,
All right. Okay, so yeah, I think a lot of it's a little hard to really speculate on what will happen specifically within Atlas, because there is so much going on. You can't really pin down anything and say this is the way the story is going to go, because there really is a dozen different ways that could. And I think once we do get the basic plot down early in the volume, there will be a lot more speculation.
Yeah, I agree there.
Yeah, we're a long way from any footage publicly anyway, or photos. IGN's probably going to be one of the ones giving out a video first. So I expect that in late October.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Okay, so do we have anything else, folks? I do mean anything at all on Weiss?
Life is mine.
Oh yes. How
Yes,
could you
basically
not?
all of her songs.
Right. With the songs, I really do like them because you can make a timeline out of them and where Weiss's head is at, and I really like them.
The best kind of songs are the ones that tell the story alongside you. I feel like if you look at any good soundtrack from any movie, game, or show, they usually depict the mood of the scene they play in very well, but they also tie into like how the product itself is actually holding at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like with Weiss, that's kind of what they go for.
Yeah,
like Mirror Mirror is like the start, and then it all goes from there into this timeline of.
I'd say Path to Isolation is the start.
Okay, yeah, it's true.
But yeah, definitely. I think that is something that really lends itself to Weiss's songs. Personally, I do like some of the other single songs more than the Weiss quartet, but altogether, the Weiss songs they are the strongest part of the lyrical soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Are we ready to sign off?
Oh, I think it's.
Oh, Battle, you got something to say?
Yeah.
I don't think I ever said my favorite moment. I was like on favorite moment all the time. So at some
First, I'd like to just compliment Kara for her acting as Weiss. She did a fantastic job, and I feel like I would need to shout that out at some point because I really admire what she brings to the character.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree there.
I think Weiss' progression so far, that was maybe my favorite moments.
Alright.
Fair. Certainly has changed long before then, and by volume 5, volume 5, when you see, and again, after a potential conflict is used down, she hugs her. That was like 40, and talking with Blade, and it's about. Oh my god, that took 2 episodes before and he's family, new family being allies. That's always a great moment.
Alrighty. Well, I believe that's all from us on the Cacawphony. So, with that, we'll finish, and I'll shill out the nest real quick here. So yeah, this is a Crow's Nest podcast. we are a Discord server based on Ruby and writing. So if you folks are interested in either of those, definitely check us out. Excuse me. So, yeah, we'll put a link in the description below. And yeah, with that, I have been Jelo and been joined with.
Ed?
Wait, can we say our name?
Yep.
Oh. Who's first?
Yeah, I'll just
This has been. Okay.
professionalism.
Is this my turn next, or like is my turn now? Like,
Yes, just say your name.
this has been Barry, but you can call me Great for short. Wink. Do you have to say wink? That was a dumb joke, anyway.
And greatness.
Alrighty, so.
Great
All right. Heck yeah. Alrighty then. Well, everyone, you have a good night.
It's morning. Actually, no, it's afternoon for me, but I mean.
So basically,